On a stormy night in 1971, a man known only as D.B. Cooper pulled off one of the most daring heists in aviation history, then vanished into the sky, never to be seen again. No body, no confirmed sightings, just an empty parachute and a trail of mystery. But what if the story didn't end there? What if Cooper didn't die in the jump or disappear into thin air, but crash-landed and survived? Tonight on Curell Case Files, we explore a chilling alternative, a theory that rewrites everything we think we know. Is it possible that D.B. Cooper walked away from the wreckage and lived a secret life, hidden in plain sight? On November 24, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve, a man calling himself Dan Cooper boarded Northwest Orient Flight 305 in Portland, Oregon. Neatly dressed in a black suit and tie, he appeared unremarkable. But as the flight took off for Seattle, Cooper handed a note to the flight attendant. It read, "I have a bomb." He calmly showed her a briefcase with wires and red sticks inside. His demands? $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. Once the passengers were released and the ransom secured, Cooper instructed the pilots to fly toward Mexico City at low altitude and slow speed. Somewhere over the rugged forests of Washington state, he opened the rear staircase and jumped into a cold, stormy night with a parachute and the money. Despite a massive manhunt by the FBI, no trace of Cooper was ever found, except for a decaying bundle of $20 bills discovered near the Columbia River in 1980. Was Cooper a criminal mastermind who vanished into legend, or did his luck run out in the freezing wilderness? The case remains the only unsolved airline hijacking in U.S. history, a haunting enigma that continues to captivate the public imagination. Over the decades, dozens of theories have emerged about what really happened to D.B. Cooper. The most widely accepted theory? He died during the jump. The weather was harsh, visibility was poor, and the terrain below was unforgiving. Many believe no one could have survived it. Others insist Cooper lived and managed to start over with a new identity, perhaps in South America or even just a few towns away. Some suspects have even been identified, but none definitively linked to the case. The FBI officially closed the case in 2016, leaving behind only speculation and a trail of pop culture references. But what if all these theories are missing something? What if Cooper did survive the jump, but didn't land smoothly? What if he crashed, barely clinging to life, and yet somehow still made it? Imagine this. Cooper leaps into the night sky, weighed down by cash and clothed for business, not survival. Wind tears at him, rain blinds him, and then impact. This isn't a clean escape into the night. It's a crash, but not fatal. This theory proposes that D.B. Cooper landed roughly, perhaps hitting a tree line or ravine, suffering injuries but surviving. Lost in dense wilderness, injured, cold, and desperate, Cooper would have had to rely on sheer will to stay alive. Could he have crawled to shelter, fashioned a crude camp, and waited out the search teams? Could survival, not escape, have been his greatest feat? Let's break down how such a wild scenario could have actually worked. In this version of events, Cooper's descent doesn't go according to plan. He jumps into blinding wind and darkness, landing hard, possibly breaking a rib or twisting an ankle. His cheap parachute isn't ideal for precision landings. He might slam into a tree or bounce off a rocky slope, but he lives. He crawls beneath a fallen log or finds a shallow cave. His briefcase? Damaged. The money? Scattered or buried. But he's alive. Search teams miss him. Maybe they were looking in the wrong area, or maybe he buried all traces of himself. He stays hidden, nursing injuries with makeshift bandages, drinking from nearby streams, and eating whatever he can forage, roots, berries, even small animals. Over time, he begins to move again, slowly, carefully. Maybe he stumbles upon an old logging road and hitches a ride with a sympathetic stranger. Maybe he lies about who he is, claiming to be a lost hiker, a war vet, or someone fleeing domestic trouble. One thing is certain, if this scenario happened, Cooper didn't just outwit authorities, he outlasted nature itself. The Pacific Northwest is beautiful, but brutal. Freezing rain, thick forests, wild animals, and treacherous terrain. For most, survival would be unlikely. But what if D.B. Cooper wasn't most people? If he had military training, or even basic survival knowledge, he could have stood a chance. He may have carried a concealed knife, fire-starting tools, or had knowledge of how to build shelter from branches and moss. Finding food? The forests are full of edible plants, though dangerous if you don't know what to avoid. Insects and small animals could sustain him. In small amounts. Snowmelt and rain would have provided drinking water. He may have built smoke-free fires, avoiding detection, or used rocks to signal passing planes, only to change his mind and disappear deeper into the woods. And if he truly wanted to vanish, survival wasn't just about living, it was about never being found. It's possible that Cooper didn't just survive, he became a ghost. Years later, in a small Oregon town, a man enters a dusty bar, rugged, quiet, with a limp in his left leg. He orders a whiskey, wears a black tie. The bartender notices something odd. The tie has a clip engraved with a set of tiny initials, DBC. Is it a coincidence or a confession? He tells stories, wild stories, about parachutes, lost cash, and hiding from helicopters. Patrons laugh, thinking he's just another drunk spinning tales. But one night, he whispers to the bartender about a stash, buried near an old trail where no one goes anymore. A briefcase, he says, filled with something that could change everything. He leaves. He never returns. Locals say the man moved south, or died in the woods, or maybe he never existed at all. But the bartender never forgot the tie, or the initials, and neither did we. Fast forward to today. A group of amateur treasure hunters scouring Oregon's wilderness for old mining gear makes a stunning discovery. Half buried in soil and moss, they find a rusted briefcase, damaged but intact. Inside, rotting bundles of cash. Some of the serial numbers match those released by the FBI in 1971. There's also a tie, black, with faint red stains, and a single pin, a parachute emblem. Is this the final clue, or another elaborate hoax? Investigators swarm the area. Forensics teams test the materials, but time and nature have worn away definitive proof. There's no DNA, no fingerprints. Yet the story catches fire online. Was this the stash the man in the bar spoke of? Did Cooper bury it after surviving the crash, hoping to return for it later? Or was it a decoy, a trail left to mislead? We may never know, but the discovery reignites public fascination. And suddenly, the crash and survival theory doesn't seem so far-fetched. If D.B. Cooper survived, everything changes. He didn't just outsmart the FBI, he outlived the myth. But surviving a crash and vanishing isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a life on the run. He would have needed a new identity, a remote place to live, and a reason to stay hidden. That takes discipline, planning, or desperation. Could he have lived among us, shopping in small-town stores, paying with cash, always watching over his shoulder? Would the guilt have consumed him, or would he have felt victorious? And what does that say about us, that we still root for him? Whether dead or alive, D.B. Cooper has become a legend. Books, movies, documentaries, even comic books have immortalized the mysterious hijacker. He's a symbol of rebellion, a Robin Hood for the jet age, a man who beat the system and disappeared without a trace. But why do we celebrate him? Maybe because he represents freedom, mystery, the idea that one man could defy authority and slip through the cracks. This new theory, the crash survivor, adds a human layer: pain, struggle, endurance. It turns a ghost story into a survival tale. And that is why the myth will never die. So what if D.B. Cooper didn't vanish, but endured? What if he limped out of the wilderness, scarred but alive, forever a step ahead of the world chasing him? It's a theory we may never prove, but it reminds us why these stories matter. Because in every unsolved mystery, there's a part of us hoping the truth is still out there, waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for joining us here on Curell Case Files, where truth and theory collide. If you enjoyed exploring this alternate path, there are many more twisted cases and haunting possibilities coming your way. What do you think happened to D.B. Cooper? Did he crash and crawl his way to freedom, or disappear without a trace? Drop your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Curell Case Files for more eerie investigations and twisted takes on true crime. If you love real stories with a dark twist, you found your home, right here on Curell Case Files. We go beyond the headlines to ask questions no one else dares to. What if the killer never left town? What if the missing were hiding in plain sight? What if the truth was darker than fiction? Each week, we bring you immersive storytelling that blends true crime, urban legend, survival horror, and haunting what-ifs. From unsolved mysteries to infamous legends, we don't just report the facts. We explore what could have been. So if you're fascinated by cold cases, conspiracy theories, and twisted tales with a cinematic vibe, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. Welcome to the shadows of true crime. Welcome to Curell Case Files.